Hey, this is David Worth from the UNC Keenan Flagler Family Business Center. I am fortunate enough today to be joined by Clifford Thompson from Thompson Traders. Thanks for being here, Clifford.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. I feel honored that you would have asked me to participate in your Zoom talks.
Oh, stop. I'm honored that you're
Um,
here.
no, you're the David Worth. This is awesome.
Yeah. Look, I know your family business, Thompson Traders, is a family business where the family is all in.
That's
And so
right.
the topic today is kind of a family business that has a lot of family involvement. And we think of at the Family Enterprise Center about ideally family businesses are a way to create glue and good relationships among the family in kind of a holistic way. In a bad, and if it goes bad though, people think of that as like a ticking time bomb where things blow up. You guys seem to have been able to actually use it to your family's benefit, both from a personal standpoint, relationship standpoint, but also financially. You've just done really well. So, you mind just setting the table and telling me a little bit
Yeah.
about your family business?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're family owned and operated business. We started the business in 2002. Initially, the very early days, it was my mom and I just had an idea to bring product from Central Mexico, handmade product, and distribute it into the U.S. Into the U.S. market. We brought a bunch of different things in, and what ended up really working were these handmade copper sinks. My my siblings, my sister and brother, and then my dad joined the company pretty quickly at the beginning, and really just we all kind of dove in, had no idea what we were doing. Mom had a couple other businesses in the past, but I was fresh out of college. My brother was still in college, and my sister was as well. So we kind of all were just doing what we could as we could. And it turned into something really interesting. It took us about 4 to 5 years to really kind of get our feet under us, and we actually weren't profitable until the 7th year. So it took us a long time to get there. But we look back at it, and looking at it today, it's amazing to see where we are. And we used to say early on, we were like, as soon as we hit $3 million in revenue, that's when we made it. Like, yeah, we're gonna be rolling when we hit 3 million. And we hit 3 million, and we're like, no, we're not rolling. We got a lot more to do. But I think a point you touched on about the glue, it's definitely for us. We've had a lot of fun doing it, and we've gotten a lot closer. We're all very talented, I think, in different aspects in different ways, and we've let each other kind of run that part of the business that really interests us independently. And we coordinate with each other, of course, but we kind of say, hey, you're good at this stuff, you run with that. And it's worked out really well for us. So we spend a lot of time together at the office, and then we'll get together on weekends and have dinner and stuff.
Who all's involved?
So my dad is involved, and my mom, of course. Dad is really kind of our operations guru, and didn't study engineering, but he's one of those Renaissance guys that can just pretty much do anything. He can fix anything. My mom, she's really the heart and soul of the business, and our creative director. My sister Samantha, my older sister, she does a lot of our marketing, and kind of interaction with designers and things like that. And then my younger brother, Jonathan, he is our sourcing specialist, runs basically all of our production planning and logistics. And then me, I would say I'm the most easily replaced. Could be the most easily replaced person in the business.
You do the interviews. You do the interviews.
Yeah, I talk to you guys. I do more of, I run our sales teams, and then do a lot of, kind of vendor interactions at the higher level, and then talk to the banks and, keep the funding coming and things like that. So we really kind of have all landed in the area that we really like and like to operate in. And it works really well. And I have a younger sister who we have been courting to try to get her back to the business. She lives in Manhattan, but I think we're like that close to getting her to join the business, and then we'll be 100% family in the business.
What do they call that in Star Wars? Like a tractor beam. There's just like a force pulling her back to the family business. Yeah, she can't escape.
Yeah, you guys know this, right? Worth Industries. I mean, you guys are pretty all in as well.
We are, yeah. And we have a no drama rule. That's about the best we've done, which is like, if you're about to throw something, you better walk out. You better
throw it in the parking lot.
Right. But having little heuristics like that, I think in the family business is very important. Like there's certain ways of conducting yourself to kind of keep things civil. But I
think you're right.
We're calling this series Light Conversations, and partly because we're not trying to get too heavy. We want to have some fun conversation about family business, but also light is in terms of like when a light bulb goes off, and I think at certain points along the path in the family business, you start to realize certain things that become kind of fundamental, either to the culture or the way you operate or the way you compete. So when you talk about starting out and then for 7 years, really just trying to push towards kind of a successful kind of profit, that was a big goal for you guys for a long time. Like, can you think of any kind of light bulb moments or things that started to be a foundation for you all as you thought about the business? I mean, that could be your product line. I know you all have the nicest, very high quality stuff, and I'm sure it's hard to stick to some of that mindset. But you tell me. I mean,
No, I think when we look back at it, so I think a light bulb moment for us. We had got the company going, and when I say I got married pretty early on in the business, and we weren't making any money, and I couldn't convince my wife Martha to live in my parents' basement. So I had to go get a real job. So I was helping where I could, but so when I say we, it's really my brother and sister and mom, and then my dad a little bit later on, who really like grabbed this thing and ran with it. We had some really early success and had some good customers. But what really, I think, the light bulb moment for us was when this gentleman by the name of Fred Starr, really a prominent guy kind of in the triad and in the furniture world. He was the CEO of Thomasville Furniture for 20 years and, took them from 150 million in revenues to 600 million in revenues. He came to us and said, "Hey, I'd like to kind of see what you guys are doing." So he started mentoring us and coaching us, and he saw something that was interesting to him, and he invested with us, put some money in, and joined the company. He was kind of our first CEO, real first CEO. And the light bulb moment for us was when a guy like Fred Starr joined the company and was willing to put some money there. And we were like, "All right, tell us what to do." And that guy organized us, looked at what we were doing, helped us re-merchandise, looked at pricing. He was an expert at selling the American consumer. So he really got us helped us create the structure where we could take it to a customer, and we kind of had all the pieces laid out, and it was easy for them to just grab it, put it on their floor, and we were off to the races. I think that was one of the biggest moments. I would say the other big light bulb moment we had was when we went to the first show we went to in the building construction material space was the International Home Builder Show, about 3 years after we started the business. And we had a little tiny 10 by 10 booth with maybe 20 sinks on display. And we had 1,500 people come through our booth in 3 days, and, a stack of business cards like this high of people that wanted to talk to us. And in there was Home Depot and Lowe's and Ferguson's. So some really big players in the space. And then those companies called us afterwards. So we were so tiny, we were kind of afraid to call them, but when they called us, we said, okay, we might have something here. This is something we got to follow and really push through. So that first trade show was the International Home Builder Show. It was kind of like a do or die moment. We were my dad, who was our funding source at that point, said, "Look, guys, this is kind of it. Either after the show, either we kind of make something of this, or we're gonna shut it down and do something else." I think those are the two kind of big pivotal moments in our business.
And what do you think this former executive from Thomasville, these
Yeah.
enormous kind of companies like Home Depot and those, what did they see in you all?
I think about that a lot, actually, because we weren't doing anything terribly new. There was already, these handmade copper sinks have been in the market for a long time. I think it was kind of two things. One, my mom, by far, she's incredibly charming, and I think they kind of fell in love with the idea of participating with this family business. The other thing I think they really like, we took a different approach to pricing than a lot of people did. We priced our stuff. We figured out what margin we needed to really run the business, and then we priced everything according to that. Instead of saying, "Hey, this is a luxury product; it should be 3 times that price." We were more interested in seeing if we could sell a lot of volume for something that we thought was beautiful, and putting a really good price on it, and not so much like, "Hey, let's price this like a Chanel or something like that."
Right.
So I think that opened the door. Home Depot saw that and said, "Hey, we can actually sell that in our store. It's not a crazy price." And I would say that we probably brought the market down to the level where all of a sudden, before us, a consumer would go into like a really high end plumbing dealer, and they would be paying $3,000 or $4,000 for a hammered copper kitchen sink. With us, we brought it down to where people were paying $699 for one of those sinks. So I think we made a big adjustment in the market. And the other thing that was interesting, we found that there is a lot of demand for this product. Everyone always thought it was a very niche product, but we found out that if you price it accordingly, if you price it right, a lot of people want it. So I think those were some of the things that the Depot saw there.
So right now, what are your big projects there? Like, what's next once you've kind of gotten in with some of those large stores? Where do you go?
Yeah. So what we did is really just deepening the relationship. So initially, we were in the 46 Expo design centers, and we had some displays there, and we were selling some product. When the Expo design centers shut down, we got moved into the big, like the real Home Depot stores. And we had, one kitchen sink that went into 1,800 Home Depot stores, and business just blew up, and we joke about it because it was probably the worst kitchen sink we've ever made. It wasn't good. It wasn't very practical. And, but it didn't sell that well even for Depot, but it sold for us. It was massive, huge business. I think we've grown our business by deepening the relationship. As of 2010, we really haven't added any really significant new customers, but we've just gotten deeper with our customers. And one of the things that we really do, we try to stay in touch and find out what they need, what's working for them and what's not working. And so we found 2 years ago, we were asked by Home Depot about fire clay, if we could get a fire clay. And fire clay's, it's not a newer material in the market, but it's kind of like what copper was. It was a very high-end material for a long time. So we went out searching, and we found this product at a price that could work for Depot, and brought it in. And they basically partnered with us from the beginning and said, "Hey, we'll commit to a certain volume if you guys can get it." And so that's kind of been our MO. We go out in the market and kind of find out what people need, what our customers need, and then we see if we can find it at a price that works.
And we talk about good family businesses, or I should just say healthy family businesses tend to have 3 components: the business component, an education component, kind of like lifelong learning, and then a fun component. Can you talk about how you all hit some of those bases? I know that you all are pretty good at the fun component.
Yeah,
together.
We excel at the fun part.
That part is often overlooked, but I think it's probably one of the reasons you all get along so well, is that you like to entertain, is what I think is the part of the glue. Did that develop naturally?
Yeah. Oh, Mom. I mean, when we were kids, at 8 years old, Mom would have dinner parties, and all the kids, she'd dress us up, and we would all bringing plates out to people, serving wine. Like that was kind of our indoctrination into social life. So we've been doing that forever. And we kind of all like it too. We have fun with it, and it's worked really well for this business because now we have these big parties, and we'll have designers and architects, and our customers come to mom and dad's house, and we have a big party and live music, and mom will cook all the food. Now we have professional wait staff come, but mom still cooks all the food, and then we serve everyone, and we really enjoy. We're big into just sitting down and talking long meals and just hanging out. So that has really served us well in the business and helped us create these kind of lifelong relationships with our customers.
Tell me about.
No, go ahead.
Tell me about this. I was going to ask you. So one cool thing that you're doing that was a neat way for a family business. You go across borders, so you have kind of an international component, a multicultural component, but you've gotten involved with a local fund to raise money for startup ventures. And it's a fun thing that I think, you've taken an interest in trying to create or catalyze some growth within the community where you're from. And can you talk a little bit about that effort, how you started it? I think a lot of people, I often say, like, every family business owner I meet, and then other generations always have kind of a side thing going on, and something new, something interesting, or a diversion of some sort so they can put some resources and really try to be helpful and also impactful. Like what is that? Can you tell me a little bit more about it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it comes, for us, it came through, we watched my parents. They were always very active in the community, specifically with the Juvenile Diabetes Foundation. My younger sister is a type 1 diabetic. So from, when we were a lot younger, we were going and helping, always trying to see what we could do to kind of raise money for that. For me personally, when I moved back to Greensboro from Atlanta, I just fell in love with, I grew up here, but you leave and you don't really think about a lot of these things. But moving back from Atlanta, I was like, man, this place is awesome. I don't understand why more people don't live here. I mean, it's so easy. There's no traffic. It's great, just great quality of life. And I fell in love, and I wanted to see how I could help, Greensboro grow in a way where we could have more businesses here and just kind of help in that regard. So I got involved with Launch Greensboro, which is under the Greensboro Chamber of Commerce. But the mission of Launch Greensboro is to basically help create a really friendly startup ecosystem in the community, and really in the Triad. It's not so much Greensboro focused, it's Triad focused. I think if you look, just from talking to different people, I was able to talk to Tom Barkin, who's the president of the Richmond Federal Reserve. And he said the cities that are really revitalizing themselves well are focusing a lot of their efforts on entrepreneurship. You look at businesses, we've had major big businesses based out of Greensboro that just pick up and leave. But if you look at like a Thompson Traders or a Worth Industries, people like us, we're probably not going to leave Greensboro. We're not going to move our businesses out of Greensboro. So that's what really got me interested. So now at Launch Greensboro, I'm the chair of Launch Greensboro, and we have an awesome team there. That is Lou Ann Flanders is the executive director, and we put programs together and we bring businesses in from day one, pre-revenue, and there's programs there that teach you everything you need to know about starting a business. And it's really, really top-notch programming. And we have programs from the ideation stage that you can come and just say, hey, I have this idea, and you can pitch a bunch of different people and they can poke holes in your idea. And then we have programs all the way to sustain. We call it sustain, which is, companies that have been in business 3 or 4 years that have, some pretty good revenues coming in. And we have programs to kind of help them take it to the next level. The piece that we were missing, which is what you brought up, is the fund. It's called First Launch Capital Fund. That was kind of the piece we were missing. We didn't really, if you talk to entrepreneurs who've started businesses in Greensboro, one of their biggest hangups is finding investors in Greensboro. It's really difficult for them to find angel investors who are willing to write a check. So we created this fund, but we've made 5 investments to date. They're all in the triad, anywhere from kind of technology to not so tech heavy businesses. We invested in a really cool company that's has this new way to do the core, a battery core, that they think can really revolutionize the battery market.
I agree. One thing I noticed just with my connection with the business school is, and I'm not saying it's a right or wrong thing, but there's a significant amount of trust placed in the background of the individuals involved in the team. And certainly that orients around places like Silicon Valley or the Triangle of North Carolina, Raleigh-Durham area, where there's university backgrounds and education can really help drive and be a big component of being able to raise money. So what is when you make an investment like that, like how do you determine, what's the process for determining whether it's worth deploying capital into?
Yeah, well, you nailed it. It's these early stage companies are so risky that it really depends on the individual. You're investing in the individual. Any pro forma or anything they show you is a wild guess at best. So it's 100% on the individual. So we do a lot of vetting, their background. We look at, a lot of time these are professionals that have had a career already. So kind of understanding their career background. We do look at their business model. It's cool too. We get help from the students over at High Point University. They kind of help do some of the vetting and kind of dig up data for us to analyze and look at, and do a lot of the analysis themselves as well, and kind of produce reports. So there's a lot of different people involved, but ultimately you kind of look at the business model, and it's got to have some scalability to it. We're not looking to make an investment in a cool new bar that's just going to be here based out of Greensboro. We're looking at something that does have some pretty large market potential. And then you spend a lot of time talking to the founder. A lot of these early businesses have to pivot. So you need to make sure that this person is resilient, that if we're going to make an investment, this has to be their kind of 100%. We can't have anyone who's got, well, I'm working 90% here, and then I got 10% this other gig that I really like. It's got to be, I'm 100% committed in making sure that they have that resiliency, that they can say, okay, this isn't working. We need to change and do something different. And I would say, I'm sure you know this, but with venture deals, with these startup investing, these angel deals, 90% of them are not going to work. They're probably going to go to zero. So one of the key components is getting a good deal flow in and making enough investments where you have that one that more than offsets all your losses on these other ones.
How do you compete with what is there anything that you try to find that in the market, in the triad of North Carolina, that to differentiate from other areas? Or are you just looking for that at the business itself and not really at the type of business?
Yeah, we're really agnostic in that regard. So we're looking just kind of at the business. We're not, there's really not a ton that we can do to differentiate. We have found there's a little bit of a niche probably that's starting to emerge. We've heard anecdotally that in Raleigh, it's hard to get a check from an angel investor if you are not very technology driven. So I think there's an interesting component there for us. One example of an investment we just made is this really cool company called Unbox the Dress. What they do is they have 2 different kind of revenue sources. One is they take wedding dresses and they have a storage system for it. So like your wife, Erica, could send their wedding dress in, and you pay kind of an annual fee, and they make sure that it's taken care of and that it's not going to get destroyed by critters or anything like that. The other part of it, which is really interesting, and it lends itself really well to the history and of what made Greensboro great, is they'll take your dress and repurpose it. So if you wanted to make like a baptismal gown for one of your nieces or nephews or your kids, they'll take your dress and design a baptismal gown, and then they've hired a bunch of sewers here in Greensboro and Winston, and they're doing this now. So this is really cool. And they moved from Ohio. One of the reasons they moved was for the logistic aspect of Greensboro and Winston, but the other reason is because there's a lot of that talent here that can do that sewing and stitching and things like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so a company like that, I think they would have found it difficult to raise money in Raleigh, but that's definitely something that's kind of right down our alley.
Good deal. Well,
Yeah.
Clifford, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to talk with me, and I hope you'll come back.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing, and this was fun. I always like talking about business.
Well, we'll do it again, and I hope you have a great week, good weekend. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care.